Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Aches, Pains, and Gains podcast. I'm your co-host, Thomas. Over there, I have my co-host.
Yo, we got Dan the man coming back
Dan
for
the
another
man
episode.
with a plan.
Yes.
Seldom ever with a plan. That's what we should call it.
That's crazy.
So we're joined today by not one, but two special guests, other coaches from Bridge City Barbell, for our first ever episode of what I'm going to call, I think, Coach's Corner. I don't know.
I love it.
Yep.
It's pretty good. I think I'm stealing that from Calgary Barbell. I
Really?
think that's what they called it. I
Yeah.
can't remember. This episode in general is highly inspired by Calgary Barbell.
Great minds think alike.
Great minds do think alike. And they had an episode on, it was like a reel on Instagram or something. And I sent it over to Danny, and here we are. So we got Kelsey back again.
Yes, it is good to be back.
That's Kelsey Goodmanson. And we have a new guest, his first ever podcast, Timothy Zelensky. How you doing, Tim?
Doing good. Don't know how to use a microphone. Super weird. We're going to tough it out, though. Get relaxed. Get things moving.
It'd be good, Tim. It'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's our first ever episode here on the episode on the podcast. It's our first ever episode.
Buddy,
on the
it sounded
episode.
like our first episode. My
Yeah, I
God.
guess, right? A little off to a rocky start. It's
all
okay.
good.
I'll chop
First
it up in
ever
post.
day on the earth. Feeling blessed.
Anywho, in today's episode, we're gonna chat about some difficult coaching conversations that we've encountered in the past. Maybe some troubleshooting ideas we've come up with when encountering, let's say, certain personalities along the way. And yeah, I think that's kind of the summary of this episode. It's a little looser than normal, not much of an outline. So we'll kind of see where this goes and yeah, take it from there.
Yep.
But to start, let's kick it off with some good old fashioned aches, pains, and gains. Dan, you want to get us going here? Show us what the aches, pains, and gains are all about.
Okay. Yeah. So, aches, pains, and gains. So right now we're like 35 days out from Commonwealths. And me and Tim are 35 days out from Commonwealths. And training right now is beginning to like tick upward. But I'm still kind of rehabbing the left shoulder issue for bench press because like I haven't really done a ton of bench press as of late. But now working with Adrian, who's also been the guest on this podcast, we seem to have figured out kind of the underlying issue. And don't ask me to tell you what it is because I don't remember. But he kind of like figured it out and gave me the plan to manage it. And I can actually now bench press. Not up to 100%, but we're kind of working our way back to decent training loads. But squat and deadlift are flying right now. So pretty happy with that.
Right on.
Yeah,
Right on,
dude.
man. Sweet.
Anything else? Aches, pains, gains? That's it, man.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, a lot has changed actually since our last episode.
Yeah.
I got married,
Yeah, I know.
went on honeymoon.
Yep,
You were my best man, gave a sick speech.
dude. Some say the greatest speech of all time. I'm not even joking.
It was pretty good.
I felt like a rock star after because like everybody, and I mean everybody, was coming up, shaking my hand and being like, "That was the best speech I've ever heard."
You're probably more popular than Thomas.
Can you recite it right now?
I probably could.
Let's go.
No, I'm not gonna.
Let's go.
No, it was good though.
Sing the song, Danny.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're not
Yeah, it was
moving on. No, I'm just kidding.
We're actually going to just sit here in silence until
Yeah.
Danny starts singing.
We will wait.
We got him blocked in the corner. He can't get out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Strapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Thanks for sharing, man.
That's good.
Kelsey, do you want to go next for aches, pains, and gains? What's your report this week?
Things are good. I'm happy to report that I'm just really enjoying training again, which is a huge win given what's happened with my back and all this, and not going to Commonwealths, but no, I'm really enjoying training. Bench is kind of like the main focus right now, and it's flying. Like, I've never felt more consistently strong with bench ever. And I feel like come provincials, which is like 12 weeks, 11 weeks away,
I think we're 11 weeks out,
like
yeah.
I'm
11 weeks, 2 days.
Yeah.
very confident
to be exact.
that I'll add minimum 10 kilos to my meet PR
Nice.
Yep.
Just on bench.
just on bench,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've had the same meet PR, all 3 meets, 70 kilos, 70 kilos, 70 kilos. So I'm projecting like, and we still have a lot of time to go, but minimum 80. I'm
Oh, yeah.
thinking.
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah.
I think so. be good.
I mean, aches, pains, they're still there, but they're definitely getting better. Like I deadlifted 185 pounds for sets of 3 last night,
Mhm.
which was, I told you about this.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
what's you never
Oh, yeah.
you never updated me on how you're feeling today.
So, felt awesome doing it. I felt nothing in my back. Today it's like a little bit angry, but not
Not as bad as it was before.
debilitating, no. So I'm like super happy about that, which
Love
is
Very exciting.
a
Super
physical
exciting.
and a mental win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other than that, I love the belt squat. I'm just
Yo,
having fun.
we're getting stupid with the belt squat.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
basically treating it as my main, like
Yeah.
heavy sets of
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
6,
Yeah.
and I'm really enjoying that. So no, I'm just kind of turned over a new leaf with training, which is good.
That is
So
so good.
I'm very happy. I'm just
Love it.
feeling positive about it. So
Yeah, right on. Sweet.
Yep.
That's a good place to be.
Love
That's
it.
a much happier of an update than the last episode
Oh,
we
yeah.
had, for sure.
yeah, no,
Which was like a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
yeah, no, things are going well.
A little bit of a different tear jerker. This going on.
Yes,
That's good.
Happy,
Yeah.
yes, happy tears.
Sweet.
Yeah, when you're in the middle of the shit and you're dealing with an injury, it just feels like you're never gonna get out.
Yeah.
I call it the pit
Yeah.
of despair. You can't like see the horizon
Yeah.
anymore. And then eventually you start climbing your way out, and before
Yeah.
you know it, you're actually like kind of starting to move past it, or you're like on the other end of things. And yeah, I think it's part of the process, but especially when you don't have maybe all the necessary mental and physical tools to deal with it yet,
Yeah,
which is why having good people in your corner
Yes.
is super helpful.
and this I don't know if it was last night whenever I sent
couple
you
days
this,
ago.
but it's been such a blessing in disguise because I told Danny, like, I feel like I truly appreciate training more now and the people. I think I said like something along the lines of the lifting almost seems like a secondary piece at this point.
Hmm.
Like it's really the people being at Rise with all you guys and everyone else, and just like finding the fun in it, even when PRs aren't on the table,
Oh yeah,
is
for sure.
huge.
Yep. Yeah,
I
if you
feel
don't,
like that's
even without injury, if you don't find that, those kinds of people don't stick around in the sport
yeah,
very long, right? Because it's all extrinsic, and eventually that stops. And like
Yeah.
I haven't fucking PR'd, and God knows I can't even remember,
I
dude.
know,
It's been
dude.
like a couple years. I think before physio school. Yeah, is when last time I
Yeah.
PR'd. So
yeah.
yeah,
No,
Learn-
it's a cool feeling to be kind of like not disconnected from the numbers, but not have it affect how you feel about lifting.
yeah, absolutely, I'm with you. Well, thanks for sharing,
Yeah.
Kelsey. That was
That's
a good,
great.
good little update.
Love it.
What about Timothy T-Bone?
Honestly, just straight up business as usual right now. Just hitting lifts, getting in the gym. I just got back from up north where I was working all summer. Like you said about having people around you, didn't have that. Not gonna lie, it was getting pretty dark. I think by last week, every session I did in my underwear. It was starting to get like, I need to leave this place before
Slowly
it
going
consumes
insane.
me.
Yeah.
I did have an injured my back to this spring. Came back from that, but I think honestly that's like a learned behavior at this point. I've injured my back so many times. Like Thomas said, having the tools to get out of the pit of despair. I'm not gonna lie, I think I have like a +10 greatsword for that shit now. Like, I'm pretty good at it. The pit of despair, sometimes it does start to get to me, but I'm just like, yeah, I can't touch my toes or my knees, but you know what? I'll be back.
Or my knees.
Oh, dude, I couldn't do anything. I'd wake up and I'd be like, roll out of my bed, just like, Jason Coker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When he's on that interview and he's like, I crawl to the bathtub in the morning. I can't touch my back. I need my wife to wipe my ass. Like I felt like that, but
Yeah.
now I'm hitting PRs again.
For those of you who don't know, Jason Croker,
Jason Coker, yeah.
Coker from West Side Barbell.
Oh,
West Side versus the world.
Yeah, yeah.
This very small Ninja Turtle looking dude. Very,
Super huge bench though.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very good impression.
Yeah.
Loved it.
The back's doing pretty good now, hey?
Back's doing pretty good right now. I don't want to jinx it though.
Knocking some wood here.
Yep.
But yeah, Right on, man.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Any gains to report?
Honestly, I live super sub maximally 24/7, so the
Yeah.
gains don't really rear their head until meet day.
Yeah.
But it'll be honestly sometimes it's kind of like, am I actually stronger?
Yeah.
You don't know until meet day, so it can be a little bit. I don't want to say deceiving, but
Anxiety inducing.
yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, it's crazy because like at last chance you hit 305 deadlift. What was the heaviest? You hit 305 in competition, and it was like a conservative third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the heaviest you pulled leading up to that in
280
training?
285 for a single,
Ah, fuck.
Oh,
Wow.
Fucking 20 kilo difference, man.
and that was like 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
Dude.
Look at
So what
That's
RP did you
wild.
pull 285 at in training?
Honestly, it felt pretty heavy, and then when I looked at the video, I was like, that was pretty quick. RPE probably like 8.1257, something like that.
That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair
Damn.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, I don't know. It was so long ago. Retrospect, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably hit 285 this block, and I'll be like, that was a 10. RPE 10, so terrible. And I look at the video and be like, that's pretty quick. So
Sweet.
Are you
never
competing?
trust your feelings.
Yeah,
ever.
true.
Yeah.
The weight doesn't care about your
Don't trust
feelings.
anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Life lesson.
Tim, are you competing here at Nats coming up?
I'm not.
You're not.
No.
Fair enough.
I mean, Nats is next year's in February, and it's in Saskatchewan, and already went to the East Coast already.
Yeah.
Plus, I got to go to Africa. So,
Oh, yeah, you're doing
Just gonna-
Commonwealth.
He's going Commonwealths, bro.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You excited about that?
no.
All right.
No, yeah, I'm pretty excited, honestly.
Yeah.
Are you kidding
Got
me?
that Tim
He's-
Canada singlet.
He sent us the
No,
Team
shut up.
Canada.
No, I'm just kidding.
He sent us a picture of himself in the Team Canada tracksuit.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like
what it is.
happier than a kid on Christmas. Well,
Yeah.
fuck, no shit, dude.
First time I smiled all year.
It's,
Aw.
it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling when you get the Team Canada swag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Starts
Yeah.
showing up and everything.
Look, Mom,
Yeah.
I am big.
It's
Just
one,
kidding.
I think, it's one thing to go to like an international event, but then to go with like friends,
To go with the bros,
to go with the bros.
All the
is,
bros
like,
going.
It'll be fun.
especially when it's a cool place like South Africa.
Yeah.
It's not just
Mhm.
It's
like,
like-
I'm going international. Where are you going? Ohio.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, go to the States.
Lame.
No, like,
Columbus, Ohio.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
agree.
Danny and I went to Costa Rica, right, for North Americans in 2019.
Yeah.
You're-
And we still talk about that trip at least
Yeah,
like
man.
once every 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, like honestly, like
Bring a fucking Elmer Fudd. Bring one of the moments up.
yeah.
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 It's good.
Yeah, it's a definitely gonna be a core memory. So that's cool. Super excited for you.
yeah.
Good luck to you two gentlemen in
Yeah.
Commonwealth. When do you guys leave? When do you fly out?
October 4th.
I
Nice.
think
Wow, 1 month.
I think October 4th is
Yeah,
right.
you land the same
exactly
as
1
me.
month
Yeah.
from now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same flight. We're on the same connecting flight from New Jersey to Johannesburg.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope,
fair enough.
Wow.
fuck, I hope we're like close. I hate flying.
Just hold hands.
Aw.
I need someone to hold my hand. No, I was kidding.
I fly a lot. So
Yeah.
honestly, on those big jet planes, it's not too bad. But when you get on those like little,
The small ones I heard
Tiny
you
charters.
feel the turbulence a lot more, whereas a big one,
oh man, you don't feel it. You're just like you're hitting your head on the roof sometimes. It's freaky, dude.
Yeah.
on a big plane.
No, on the small ones.
Oh, bless. Thank God.
No, the big ones I've never had like crazy turbulence, but the small ones, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna throw up. People are screaming at the front of this plane. Then we just land and everybody gets out and then we don't talk. We just leave.
Holy fuck.
That's some northern stuff right there for sure.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, they're terrible. You do that like twice a week. This year, thank God, I didn't have any real bad ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Everyone's screaming.
Everyone's
just gets off.
Not
That's what I-
everybody, but just like sometimes people that are a little faint of heart on these planes will get a little worked up.
That'll be Danny.
Yeah. Well, fuck. I remember when first time I flew out of the country, went to Mexico with Amanda, her fam, and we were over the Gulf. And I remember I was like, I gotta go take a piss, and I'm like, this fucking the plane's like rocking and rolling a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this is no big deal. This is fine. I just like pictured myself on like a bus, and then I remember standing in line because there was a line up to use the washroom, and all of a sudden the fucking buckle your seatbelt light came
Yeah,
on.
Yeah.
And the plane like dropped,
Yeah.
and I fucking was airborne, and like it dropped and went to the side, so I got tossed over these like poor people, and it was like ding, fucking, and then the captain was like, "Please fasten your seatbelt," and I was like, "Holy shit!" I like ran back, and I was like, even Dean was like, Yeah, that was some bad turbulence.
Yeah.
Because like Dean doesn't buckle under anything, and he was like, "Yeah, it was pretty bad." I was just sitting there, just fucking holding on for dear
White
life.
knuckled.
Holy shit!
Tough spot to be in.
I hate flying, man.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair, man.
Yeah.
You know, once you're in the air, it's not so bad. Takeoff and landing, sometimes it's just like my heart rate goes up a little bit.
I love
Mm.
that. I love
Really?
when you take off and then like the first 15 seconds and then it feels like you're dropping.
Yeah, it does.
Well, it's because it doesn't go straight up. It goes up and then it levels out, and then up
That's-
again and levels out, and
That's
then up.
the
Yeah.
best.
What the fuck is wrong with
It's like
you?
a ride.
Good lord.
just gonna feel that way. Yeah.
On those short flights I was doing all summer, they're like an hour long. As soon as we started taxiing, I just closed my eyes. I would try and not open them until we landed. It'd be like, if it's turbulence and
Long
you can
ways.
look out the window and see what's going on, you start to get sick.
Yeah.
You got to show up and be like, yes, coming to the courthouse, and blah, 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 like be security, and you're just feeling like crap. It's terrible.
Yeah.
because you're a sheriff, right?
I was.
You were. What were you
I, mean,
doing
I
this
might
summer?
be again. I was a sheriff.
Oh yeah. Crazy.
That's cool.
Up north.
Yeah, it's not that crazy.
No?
I don't do jack shit most of the time.
Mm.
That's fair.
Just hanging around.
Smaller population, I guess. But
Yeah.
not.
I mean, there's a lot of crime, but like, not they don't try and do crime at
He
the
just
courthouse
turns a
usually.
blind eye. He just looks away.
He's like, there's a lot of crime, but they pay me a lot. So.
yeah, that's right.
Sometimes you gotta turn a blind eye to some stuff. Some guy just reeks like weed, and you're just like, "Yo, come here, go put that outside. Get out of here."
Go put that outside.
Yeah.
Hey, having some leniency, I think, is good.
Well, yeah. I don't want to charge somebody over nothing. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right.
Everybody's got weed.
Yeah.
You know? It's just we can smell yours, so
Yeah.
we'll put it somewhere else.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the episode itself here.
Thomas, did you go through your aches,
I
pains,
didn't
and
even
gains?
go through
Fucking
mine.
guy.
Come on.
I guess. Yeah.
Good catch, because I was not going to stop him.
I was ready.
I was ready just to plow ahead. Honestly, not too much to report. Life's going pretty smoothly right now. The wedding's done and over with. Came back from the honeymoon. I'm probably weighing the heaviest I've ever been right now, which I don't know. It feels kind of good though, you know?
All-time PR.
Like all-time body weight
Yeah.
PR. I'm like hovering at 98.1 to 5 in the morning right now. And I've been
Unit.
biking to work and everything too. So like I think this is actually where I'm going to sit for a bit. I outgrew my belt. I'm on the last 2 notches. So I genuinely have to remove my belt between sets. I can't just let it
Yeah.
hang on my waist,
Yeah.
you know? So I've been, doing some belt shopping and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, it feels pretty good. I started competing, like in 2018 or so, I think.
2018.
Yeah, and I had bought this belt right around that time, and it's kind of like after about I don't know how many years is that, 6 years later, kind of moving on and all the gains and whatnot. So it all worked out. So yeah, things are feeling pretty good. I'll probably compete at provincials. I think is the plan right now. Got to decide on that because registration closes soon.
I think you will, because I'm making everybody,
Yeah,
or
well,
I'm suggesting everybody do it.
trying to hit that 710 kilo qualifying total for nationals. in
25
2025.
nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't know for sure if that's going to happen because training has been incredibly unpredictable throughout the course of physiotherapy school. That's at least what it felt
Yeah.
like. So now it's life's a lot more predictable, but the training in a way becomes a little bit more unpredictable, right? Because I don't know how I'm going to respond to a life without a lot of stress and without final exams and midterms and all that stuff I've left behind me. I'm now just in like my practicum, so I just get to work like 8:30 to 4:30 every day, clock in, clock out, do my shift. It's like feels like I'm working.
Yeah.
Although I'm just still moving further into debt because I'm not getting paid, but whatever. I'm almost done school, 11 or 10 more weeks. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Things are moving pretty good, pretty pain free right now, which is freaking rare for me.
Love
Almost like school was like contributing to all that, but.
Or it could be that you weigh 220 pounds right now.
Yeah. Is that how much 98.5 is?
That's like
219?
218.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I bet you
Stress
it's
reduction,
218.
man.
That's,
Big dog.
that's big, dude. Yeah, honestly.
I can almost predict when I'm gonna like tweak my back based off of like how stressed out I am in my life.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
I'm not stressed out in my life, I just be like hammer all the heavy weights all the time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Then like life stress hits me, I'm just like, I'm anxious. Oh, I know it's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, especially like back pain and stuff do seem to like go together with stress for me. So
Yeah, man.
kind of nice to be on the other end of things for a bit here, and pretty excited to kind of push it into provincials and see what kind of performance I can put together. And if that doesn't go well, I'll probably do a meet in December and then try and hit it again for like my last chance, my last shot. But I'm also like, I don't know, while I want to do this pretty badly, I'm not putting an immense amount of pressure because a lot of things with training and lifting and competing are just kind of outside of your control. Like you try to put the best options forward to give yourself the best outcome possible, but it doesn't always work out that way, as we all know here. Isn't that right, folks?
True.
Which isn't a bad segue into today's topic of tough coaching conversations we've had with people, perhaps when things aren't going so well. And I know Danny's got some stories on this one because he's been coaching longer than I have. So I think you should kick us off, Mr. Daniel
My guy.
Heinz.
Okay. So what, we're talking about communication right now?
If you like.
Or just bad athletes in general?
Not bad, necessarily bad athletes, but I mean, difficult coaching experiences. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The first.
I'm glad you read the outline. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I got it pulled up right here, bro. I guess my first like real challenge, as a coach, we're obviously not saying names and stuff.
Probably no, don't do that.
Okay. I wasn't planning to, but I was just confirming. I know that when I started out like lifting, my mood or my like perception of things was really influenced by like how like my performance of training was. So if like I had a really shitty day at the gym, I would
Whole
like
day's shot.
that. Yeah, exactly. Would ruin my day. I'd go home, be pissed off, and just like be in a bad mood, right? And vice versa. Like I'd feel like it was almost euphoric if I had a really good training day and everything was moving really good. And yeah, starting out, it was really influenced by training, my mood, and when I started coaching, I had one athlete who was very, very similar to me when I started out. I could see the exact same thing. Like their mood and their perception of things would really be dictated by like top sets, and then based off of how that would go, how they would perceive my feedback. Like even like in person, like this would be at the shed, and a lot of our sessions were in person, or like we would just train together. And if their top set didn't go quite as well as they'd hope, it would almost be like not a toxic environment, but like they'd be tough to be around. And yeah, it was. I tried explaining to him, to them, that like just gotta ride the wave, right? Just gotta let it kind of go, and deal with it, or not deal with it. Take it as it comes, right? Because like some days your weight's gonna be really good and everything's moving really good, and some days it's gonna be bad. And I remember one time there was like an outburst where he did his set, and I was like, as I was coming up to like talk, he turned to me and he was like, "Fuck off!" And I was like, "Oh,
Ooh.
Damn.
ooh." And like I remember other people were in there training with us, and like, it was just like silence, and it was just like a mood killer. And I was like, "Oh." So then I just paused, turned, did my set, because like in my head I was like, "Okay, they just got to cool down, no issues." And then he actually apologized, and we talked about it after. But yeah, I tried to explain, like, man, it's okay. Things aren't always going to be up and up and up and up. It's okay for things to dip a little bit, but just kind of like take a look at the whole picture, see from where you started to where you are now, kind of thing. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was like the first like, oh, I'd like end up like take a step back. I'm like, I'm getting yelled at here. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you handled it pretty good though, at least. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
No
That's
issues. That was the only time there was like a verbal outburst
Yeah.
like that from him.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah. I think like sometimes things can get pretty heated when it's not going well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like,
People get really emotional.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same time, like, I don't know. Is that level of emotion the most sustainable too? You know what I mean? Like when you're probably lifting submaximally, I assume.
It was like a heavy set.
So sub-maximally, not maximal.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, it's like
I
not,
understand.
it's not like you're even like in the competition itself. It's just like bringing that kind of mindset to training.
No.
Probably is not the most productive, right?
No, that lifter in particular, he always had like really high expectations. And some days, like I said, he'd be like par to what he had, and some days he'd be below expectation, and he'd be really down
Mm-hmm.
on himself. And I was able to like relate to it because when I started out, man, I was the exact same way.
You think expectation like regarding like the number you hit, or like the E1RM, or
Not so much E1 or M because I wasn't really using that prevalent back then. But just like weight on the bar kind of thing. Yeah. Because they had a goal at this time, and it seemed as though they weren't going to be hitting it at that moment.
yeah.
Mm.
And so him falling short in training, falling short in training was also him falling short of his target.
Yeah.
And I could empathize with that because I know what that was like.
Yeah.
But I think as I matured, that kind of just like went away.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know how to coach that out of people
Mm-hmm.
other than just like you become at peace with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The numbers are what they are.
You just don't have like we just talked about it. You don't have full control over what happens in the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That's right.
you try and optimize whatever sleep, nutrition, hydration, whatever you can.
Yeah.
Try and make sure that it does go well. But
Yeah.
like sometimes shit just don't move.
Yeah.
You know, you
Mhm.
go in there, it's like the best day ever, 9 hours of sleep, eating well,
Yeah.
carb loaded. You're just feeling good. You go and like start lifting, you're like, oh,
What the
This is-
fuck?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Eye-opening.
Other days you'll have like 3.5 hours of sleep. You know, maybe you try and slam a bunch of caffeine to compensate, and maybe you had not a lot of food because you're busy, and then somehow you hit like an all-time PR. And
Yep.
I've had both happen to me. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
yeah, it's like you gotta, like you said, ride the wave. Like maybe like it comes down a little bit to setting like realistic expectations, like with goal setting and stuff
Mhm.
too. Which
From jump, like from the
yeah,
start.
from the start, because like I think especially with younger athletes or athletes that are newer to the sport, is you get exposed to that, that immediate week by week linear increase, even day to day in strength, right?
Yep.
As your body kind of adapts to the new level of stimulus that you've been given, right? Which is why people get like the second round of newbie gains when they start focusing on like a distinct like powerlifting program.
Yeah.
They've never really taken training all that seriously up until that point. Happens a lot. And then all of a sudden, they're coming face to face with this reality that it doesn't just keep doing that forever.
Mhm.
And, a relatively short period of time, like, I would say tops, like even just like for those brand new newbie gains, like, into like 1 to 2 years if you've been lifting.
Yep.
And then maybe up to 5 if you're brand new and you've never touched a weight before. But that's kind of like typically what I've seen. 5 seems like a lot though, even. I don't really know for sure, but
Tough to say.
might be research out there on that. But yeah. I wonder if like setting those expectations, even just trying to teach people like, yeah, this might not always go our way and we don't have full control over that, but like here's what we do have control over and
Yep.
things like that. I don't know, might be helpful. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
kind of thinking on the spot here.
It's a good thing. If the situation comes up, it can spark like good conversation.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
if your training is not up to your standard or you're below what you think it should have been.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Look at your readiness, look at your sleep, nutrition, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And if you think, well, maybe you, like you said, you got a couple hours of sleep or stress is high and other stuff other than training is affecting it,
Mhm.
you can take like steps to correct those
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
better. And yeah,
It's like the lowest hanging fruit is like looking at like all your readiness variables. Too.
exactly.
Mm.
Like how's your sleep been? How's the nutrition?
Yep.
Yeah.
How many
Hydration.
steps are you getting?
Yeah. Even like your
Big steps,
overall
yeah.
activity level.
Yeah,
you know what
honestly,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can have impacts on like your training. Maybe you're actually doing too much too. Like who knows, right? Like, yeah, like so I had football practice right before my training session, and then I also had like a morning just running session, and then in the evening I thought maybe I would try and hit my top set of squats, and for some reason it just didn't go how I thought it was going to go. It's like, well,
Yeah.
how'd you think it was going to go?
Well, and I mean, like, some people just don't know, or like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Until you're shown, right?
until you're shown.
Mhm.
That's right. And I don't know. It's not that they're wrong
Yeah.
for trying. They're curious,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And the barbell is the ultimate teacher, right?
That's right.
But not everyone is in a stage in life where they can be taught, right? Like sometimes, they arrive at this point in their timeline, if you will, or they're just not quite ready to meet the lesson that's being like handed to them, right?
Yeah.
Because if you listen, like the barbell like will teach you like probably what you should and should not be doing, right? And if you stick to it long enough, like you kind of start to figure things out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't ignore it for that long.
Yeah.
You're
yeah,
gonna fail a lift eventually and be
Yeah,
like, what's
exactly.
going on here?
yeah, absolutely.
Or just
100%.
fail multiple lifts. Some people will do that.
Yep, that too. Yeah. Or it goes the other way and they never like try.
Yeah.
And then, things like taper off and it's like, why am I not making progress? And it's like, you try putting some effort into it.
Yeah. Everything is so sub max.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Clearly it works for Tim though.
hey, submax training, I mean, that's a whole different tangent, but like, even like, did you hear my story with Teresa at all?
No.
Basically, like she undershoots her squat all the time. Love you, Teresa. All the time.
Yeah.
And suddenly she hit like I don't know, like how many kilos PR was that? I can't even remember.
Wasn't it like 20?
Was it
He said
20
17 and a half.
Yeah,
or
17 and a half
something.
kilo meat
Oh,
PR.
you took like a 22 jump, right?
Yeah, it
22
was
kilo
something like
jump?
that.
I can't remember. It's something gnarly.
Yeah, we jumped from like 115 to 122 and a
From
half or
across the
something
gym, I
like
could see Thomas's carotid pulse.
that. Yeah, we talked about it
Because his
last
blood pressure
we talked about it
spiked.
last I think last episode or 2 episodes ago.
With her, yeah.
Yeah, and basically, like, I was shocked that that was even in the cards, and she hit it, got it for like a reasonable second, and then my brain was like questioning everything I've ever known about training, and like, I mean, sure, maybe if the training had been closer to what was being prescribed all the time, for example, actually hitting an RPE 8 instead of hitting a 6 and then calling it an 8, over time you stack up enough weeks of that, maybe she would have been progressing at a faster rate. But like all of a sudden, even though like I wasn't expecting like a giant PR from her or anything, she just crushed one out and she, has been sitting on this like this engine of strength she's been slowly developing, under the surface, under
Yeah.
the hood,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
maybe there's something to it. Yeah.
It can be very tricky as a coach though to do because the your indicators aren't very blatant.
No, there's
Like it's tough to
very
tell when somebody's
few.
making a set when you're going from like RPE 6.5 to RPE 6, and that's your indication.
yeah.
It's tough. Like that looks the same.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
100%. Yeah, it's hard to know what to look for. And then if you do rely like on estimated 1 rep max, that's not going to show what's happening in the short term, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not getting like a large enough or a close, like I guess a more accurate value, right? Because the closer you are to 1 rep at RPE 10, the closer you are to actually knowing what your 1 rep max is, right?
Mhm.
And so like, obviously there's drawbacks to training that close to RPE 10, but topic for a different episode and whatnot. But yeah, trying to coach it, the athlete needs to have like a lot of trust in you. And I think also be able to communicate at a pretty high level, right? Which is a skill like in and of itself too, right? Because they don't trust you and they don't communicate and they start growing distant and they kind of taper off and fade off. And yeah, submaximal training, like Danny's laughing because he knows that's happened to him and it's happened to me.
Happens to everybody.
Yeah,
The name of the game.
Not me.
not you.
Yet.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, good. That's a good one, Danny. That's a good one. Good lessons learned along the way too.
Yeah, man. I was like, I'm getting yelled at. This is crazy. This is-
The term conflict resolution has never really jived with me because why are we always trying to resolve it? I think it should be more like called like conflict navigation because on the other end of conflict, there usually is something productive that like can be achieved. An example is at one point in time, there was conflict within Apple. And for the first iPhone, they were having a conflict between whether or not they should have a glass screen or a plastic screen. And now we have the iPhone that we have today, right? From, through that conflict. And I know plenty of relationships, through other people, myself, with my coach, where conflict has, arisen from some sort of, I guess, conflicting point of view or thoughts or opinions, or maybe a narrative someone's telling themselves about someone else and things like that. But if you can actually like have the maturity and like the grace to like work your way through those things and the humility, I think you can actually benefit a lot
Mhm.
from
Oh yeah.
from
for
being
sure.
challenged, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're a coach or an athlete whose ego is way too inflated, you're not going to be in a space where you can actually take on that kind of feedback, right? And like again, like powerlifting is one of the most humbling sports.
Yep.
Probably second to only golf, because man, I suck at
Fuck
that
that
too.
game. Stupid sport.
Yeah, but
Crazy.
Tim, you golf at all?
Not in years, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
went
fair.
like once 3 years ago.
All right, we're going next weekend.
Yep.
Danny book it. Will Kelsey's talking here. I'm just kidding.
I'll look it up.
Kelsey, as I casually kick your foot,
Jesus.
I don't know, we're in tight here. 4 people's like squishy down here, like
Yeah.
to fit everyone in
It's okay.
Quadrangle.
We should just have these like mics and just lay on the floor and kick our feet
on our
That
backs.
would be cute.
on our
Oh,
bellies.
slumber party style.
Yeah.
Yeah, put blankets and pillows on the floor.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
we wear
Yeah.
pajamas next time?
I got the nice string lights up too here. It'd be vibey AF.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
Yeah, Kelsey, you got any good coaching stories or?
Well, okay, so I was thinking about this, and I think just because I'm relatively new and because I happen to have almost a pre-existing relationship with all the athletes that I coach, I haven't had many moments of, oh my God, how do I navigate this?
Mhm.
So you just wait.
I'm sure it'll come.
Not even like
It doesn't
your
have to be powerlifting. It could be like
And
personal
yeah,
training
yeah,
so
stuff.
this is kind of the route I wanted to go, was more so with
Yeah.
the personal training side of things, because there have definitely been moments there that have required some difficult conversations, or maybe not even difficult, but just ones where I actually have to think about the way I say things, because I think with other lifters and power lifters that have been lifting for years, there's kind of a baseline understanding of, oh, this is all known to us.
this is a lingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With training clients, sometimes they might be brand new, or they just don't understand as much of the process as we do. So I've had to kind of take back some of my assumptions of what people know and are aware of. I think one of the biggest ones with training clients in the gym is, a lot of people that want a personal trainer, one of the main goals is weight loss or
Mhm.
something similar to that. Gaining strength is never really on the forefront, at least at first. But so it's let's say I've had new clients come to me that, okay, they want to lose weight. Like that's the first and foremost goal. And so we're a couple months in, 3 months in, 4 months in, 6 months in, 8 months in, and nothing is changing in terms of weight. And we've had conversations come up where it's, okay, I'm in the gym, I'm putting in all this time, nothing's changing. My weight's staying the same, if not going up. And in my head, I want to say, well, you're here 2 times a week with me. You gotta pick your game up. Like, you gotta put some effort in outside of the time we're together.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be on the ball with your nutrition, because that's gonna be your biggest thing. And I can't be there for that. I can only do so much. I can guide you. I can give you ranges of, say, calories to stay in,
Mhm.
or a shopping list of shit that would be helpful for you, but I cannot physically
Buy
do
the
it for
groceries
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
cook
right.
for you. Yeah.
Can't eat less
And-
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've found, actually, one of the other trainers that I work with gave me really good advice. He said, just say it to people how you would talk about it to, say, your sister. And so I'll, say it very bluntly, like,
good
you
tip.
just gotta fucking do it. Like, you just gotta, it's not complicated. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
And I actually said that to one of my clients at one point, like, very bluntly. And the reaction was almost defensive. And I think I just came off a little bit too strong.
Yeah.
And I made it sound like it was their fault.
Mm-hmm.
And
Quit being fucking lazy.
yeah, like that was my mentality. I'm like,
I know.
I fucking do it. How fucking hard can it be? Like, it's
Yeah.
literally a simple mathematic equation. Like, you just have to do it. It's not that complicated. And I said something along the lines of this, and she kind of got a little bit, I think just took it as,
Took it personal.
Yeah, took it personal.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was like, oh my God, I just fucked up. Like I just came at her so hard. And it was actually good because we had a conversation about it maybe a week later. And we kind of revisited this conversation we had. And it actually ended really well because she gave me the opportunity to I guess have this conversation again. And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I know I probably came off a little blunt, a little strong, but I get it. Like, it is easy, but at the same time, it's not easy. I've been through it. Anytime I have to cut weight, I still have to keep track of my shit because
Mhm.
it just doesn't, it's not automatic. So I guess long story short, like finding that balance between telling how it is, like saying it how it is, but not coming across as an asshole. That's been something I've had to navigate quite a bit with training. With powerlifting athletes, like, I mean, people like Trevor, who I coached into the July meet, he dealt with a bit of a back issue at one point, very short-lived, but I feel like I'm
Yeah, and Trevor's tough to be around. We know this.
fucking nightmare. I told him I was going to shit on him during this episode, so you're welcome. But honestly, like those kind of conversations, since dealing with my own issues, I feel much more well capable to deal with them because it's like, and not to compare like, oh, mine is worse or whatever, but hey, I've been there. It fucking sucks. You don't always have to have an answer of, okay, well, let's do this or let's do this. Sometimes people just want to vent, and being able to just listen and be like, yeah, it sucks. Like sometimes shit just happens and it fucking sucks. And I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all people want to hear.
Very true. Especially if you are part of their, or as a coach, you're part of their support system.
Yeah.
So
people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when like they're going through tough times in life and stuff, like you're definitely on that list, probably on that list of people that they'd reach out to. And because a lot of life stuff just seems to affect training, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely.
That's
a good one. It's a good one. The weight loss one is tricky too, because like it like on the surface, right? It's just it's the calculation. You can like dumb it down for people to that level, and then there's just so much that happens in between on that calculation. And it's like, so like if I'm lifting weights and I'm more physically active, then why is my number on the scale not changing? And it's like, well, brother, like your frame of reference right now is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like this is not a
Yeah.
you know, I remember navigating those conversations with people, and like it's hard. Like it's really hard, especially like because like I would push the strength training like kind of to the forefront.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, like with people with like weight loss goals, I actually got this tip from Adrian. He would say, get people to focus on how easy stairs feel and get them to focus on how their clothes are fitting, not necessarily stepping on the scale.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's a bit of a benefit to even stepping on the scale, and that you can make this scary number less scary by understanding the nuances of how it waxes and wanes throughout a large amount of time, right? Because there's hardly ever a time where when I step on the scale now and I'm like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I kind of know where I'm at. Roughly, you know, at all times, even if I'm not regularly weighing myself. And still, like, you can vary like up to 2 kilos through a week. You know what I mean? Like plus or minus, depending on what you're eating and drinking and stuff like that. So it's like really difficult to communicate that to people, right?
Well,
especially if they don't have a lot of knowledge on the topic.
Yeah. I think it's easy for us to think about it because we've done it for so long, or it's just like, oh, I need to cut weight. I'll cut weight. I want to get stronger and put on a little bit of mass. It's just like, okay, that's an easy process. But it's hard for me sometimes to put myself back into my own shoes of 10 years ago when I didn't know and it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to like check yourself a little bit and be like, yes, it's simple, but it wasn't always simple for me. You know, I struggled with it too at one point. So
yeah,
there's a very fine line to walk with all those types of conversations, I think.
Learning how to meet people like where they are.
Yeah.
And like the real secret to weight loss and getting strong, it's very similar. You just have to stick around long enough.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually it happens. even again with my client Teresa, like that was one of her goals was weight loss when we first started working. It still is one of her goals, and she was also interested in powerlifting though. So I don't know if I ever like explicitly ever explained this to her, but like I pushed for the most part, like step count, like how clothes are fitting, not the number on the scale for the most part, and the number on the bar, right? I was like, we just focus on those things, right? Those like three things. And then after like getting so into powerlifting and just focusing on getting strong as fuck, after a while, you know, she would like tell me about like, hey, like my ball jersey's fitting differently and stuff like that. Like it used to hug and now it hangs and you know, things along those lines. And credit to her because she's been sticking to it for a long time.
Love it.
And like the number on the scale is only one metric and it has a lot of limitations. The same way with tracking strength with estimated 1 rep max has a lot of limitations,
For sure.
right? Because, you know, eventually you're going to run into some weird anomalies when it comes to, you know, tracking that number and it's not always consistent,
Yeah.
depending on a variety of factors. So it's like, you got to recognize that the number on the scale doesn't tell the whole story.
Mhm.
Because like, you know, when you start lifting, there often is an acute increase in weight from body like water retention from the inflammation that you know is the part of the healing process for you know building and repairing muscle, right? So it's like if people don't know that, you know, they get like stressed out
Yep.
and they're like, oh,
For
it's like I'm going the wrong direction,
Mhm.
or like you know, the reason why Adrian was like focused on how stairs feel is because your body weight to like muscle mass ratio
Mhm.
will shift.
Yeah.
So naturally, if you have a greater muscle mass ratio to your body weight, carrying your own self upstairs is gonna feel easier if you have greater muscle mass, right? I still get winded on the stairs, so I don't know how much truth. No, I'm just
That's
kidding.
never gonna go away,
It'd
bro.
be a lot harder if I was like if I had a very different body composition at 220 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely difficult to like sway people in their beliefs sometimes too. And like
Yeah.
the tricky thing is too, if you have preconceived notions and things like that, or things you maybe even like hang your identity on, when something does challenge those, it actually like challenges one's like psychological safety. So it's pretty natural for people to initially have a very like a knee jerk reaction and become combative or defensive, right?
Mhm.
In the face of that. We
Mhm.
saw this with like COVID all the time, right? And anytime someone had like a differing opinion, people are like instantly grabbing each other's
Yeah.
throats over it, right?
Jesus.
Yeah. Just
The-
waiting to react.
Yeah. Like the world of nuance and like discussion and conflict navigation just like didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like, you know,
Yeah.
instantly to just reacting on like basic emotion.
It was black or white, and everybody was seeing red.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good one for sure.
Yeah. Kind of on the same tangent.
Yeah.
I had
hit
a
us.
huge client win today
Hit
that
us.
was completely unrelated to numbers. One of my favorite clients. Not that I have favorites, but I kind of have favorites. And she,
We all do.
yeah.
Oh.
She.
Yes.
There you go.
She is a unit. Like she's super strong. And she asked me today, basically, how can I fill out more? And I was like,
How to get bigger?
That's
hype.
I
man,
love
you
that.
gotta eat. Like I'm so pumped. Like eat as much as you know, as much as you can tolerate.
As
Because
your
she's a small person, but she's
Yeah.
super strong. And it was the first time I think I've like had a client interaction where she was pumped to hear that, okay, I want you to start putting on some weight. Like that was a first.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I think she's started to see the strength gains and wants more of that. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
sweet. Are you going to convince him to powerlift?
Um,
Have you planted that seed yet?
probably not. She's older. Not old.
Who gives a
but
fuck? You seen Dusty? He's like 75.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
True. I also have like a couple of masters
Yeah.
females.
She's
and-
gonna be coming to Rise. So
Oh, love
Oh
it.
yeah.
Tommy's running a nursing home over
A
there
nursing home.
with all his masters athletes.
I might have one
Just
more
kidding.
coming
I
out,
love
too.
each and every one of you.
Yeah. Masters athletes are great.
They are, man. It's a blast.
It's oh man, like you'll learn a lot about yourself
Yeah.
if you're coaching masters
They
athletes.
don't hold back anything.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I'll tell you
too.
how it is.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about menopause. More than I ever thought I would.
They're also like the bros.
They are the in the back at a powerlifting competition. All like the masters women, it's like this cool club, and they're all just they're not cliquey at all, but like, you know, they're just chilling. You know, they're having a good time, and
They
they're
got
talking
lots of
about
love, man.
they got lots of love, and they're talking about their
Yeah.
hot flashes, and they're
Basically-
laughing.
It's basically Golden Girls back there. all
It
the
is.
time.
Yeah.
It is the Golden Girls back there.
Thank you for being a friend.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. A lot of
Warming
fun.
up with squats. Love it.
Yeah,
That's good.
really good. Well, congrats, Kelsey.
Thank
What
you.
about Timothy over there? You got any tough coaching conversations you've had over the years?
I don't think I've ever had them like break down into just like one tough conversation. I've definitely had to navigate murky waters and successfully and unsuccessfully. I think the one most recently I had, which went unsuccessfully, he just ended up ghosting me in the end, was trying to get an athlete to listen to what I'm telling them and do the program, but they wanted to do different things all the time. So I'd send them the program. Like, okay, can we add these accessories? Can we change this here? And like 99% of the time, I'm like, okay, because I'm going to listen to my client, listen to my athlete. They know their body better than I do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But at
for
a
sure.
certain point when it goes to a point where it's like, okay, this is what we're doing now, so we can have this later. We need to build this base so we can peak off of it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that, and they don't want to listen. It really comes down to the main thing I tell them is just, I'm a coach. I'm not a consultant.
yeah.
I got that
Mm.
from Dennis.
I love
Yeah.
that, dude.
That's-
I'm a coach,
that's
not a
pretty good.
consultant.
Yeah, when at a certain point when your athlete's like, okay, let's change the program like this, we'll do this, and it's like, okay, they're just coaching themselves.
Yeah.
You got to reel it back in.
Yeah.
But
And
I couldn't reel it back in.
if
Didn't
you
work.
if you let it go too far, sometimes too, you like wind up looking at the program and you're like, what even is this? Like,
Yeah.
I rely heavily too, just like you, on like their intuition and their input.
Mhm.
But like at a certain point, like it's supposed to be collaborative, right? Not
Mhm.
just one direction
Yeah.
from us or the athlete, right? But yeah, that is a tricky one. And so they just ghosted you at the end?
In the end, yeah.
Interesting.
How long were you working with them?
3.5 months or something like that.
So it's like not enough
Hmm.
time to like really even establish like
Yeah.
a good base or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, it takes probably, a good coach takes about 3 months, I think, to actually learn what an athlete reacts to.
Yeah.
And then after that, like, you can see gains in there.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, that's like, you're lucky. If you have
Yeah.
an advanced athlete and you see gains in 3 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
it takes about 3 months. Okay, this is how this person reacts to this. They react better to higher volume, blah, blah, blah. And then you actually have some data to go off of.
Yeah.
Never even really got to that point because it was like, okay, we've done all this random bullshit. We haven't seen any qualitative data here.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
And then he's, yeah.
Mm.
Where they were just wanted to change like exercise or like just the whole protocol in
Exercises,
general.
just add in 5 different accessories, change the accessories the next week. I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous.
Hmm.
We're going to do this. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing I've
That's just called program hopping.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've struggled with some athletes is they want to. I always think like, man, we can start off with this and add more if we need to,
Yeah.
or add more if we think we need to. But I've had people like, I want to start off 6 days a week, and we're doing, like you said, there's a fucking
Oh, yeah, that's another
plethora.
thing. I always start
plethora.
4 days a week. So I wanted to jump right into 6 days a week, and then it was immediately too much volume, and I was like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
told you, bro.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever had to like break up with a client because of them not, like maybe wanting to take the lead more or, taking too much of an authoritative role in the relationship?
I've never broken up with the athlete, but I've told people I won't coach them because of that. So
Mm.
I'd be like, hey, this is what I want for my program. And then they just gave me an entire program. I was like, just run that program.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just
Why
don't do
you
that.
don't need
You know what
me,
you
yeah.
want.
Yeah.
You don't need
you
me.
know what you want exactly. I've never like broke up with a client. They usually just like leave. But yeah, I've definitely had situations where the athlete was not following the program that I gave them, and they were actually running the other program that I was giving for another athlete.
Oh, shit.
And
I remember this.
yeah, and I was like, the fuck? Why? And it
Yeah.
was because that he didn't want to lift less than the
Oh,
other
boy.
guy.
And his lifting partner. Yeah.
His lifting partner. They would go train at the same time. This was during was it during COVID or before COVID?
This is pre-COVID.
It was
I think,
pre-COVID.
yeah.
It was pre-COVID. Tommy knows exactly who I'm talking about. And
I want to know.
they were, well, we'll say after. they would train together, but it was like their competition, bro to bro, was more important than actually running the structure program that I had for both of them. Like, it was both different, but he fucking wouldn't do any of that, and he would only do this.
That's got to be frustrating.
That's something that, like, I think comes out of West Side a lot. Is you see back in the day, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'd come to the gym and we'd do squats until one of us dropped. We'd be competing." How do these guys make gains doing that?
Well, the
drugs.
Yeah,
ample amount of drugs and supportive gear.
At a certain point, drugs aren't going to save you, though. Like,
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of like people that washed out of West Side like pretty hurt.
yeah,
Like we just hear about
We
certain
hear,
people.
like, we hear about like success stories. What are the ones that
It's called survivorship bias.
that
That's
didn't
what
make
is.
it,
the
yeah.
eggs that didn't break, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
there's a lot to like learn from like Louis and the West Side gang and everything too. Like, not to like discredit them and stuff, but like that style of training kind of crazy.
I really like when we started training at the shed as like groups, like our group. I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, we're fucking we're the West Side of Saskatoon, but like seeing how they trained as a group, I think I wanted to like pull elements from that and train our group together.
Yeah.
And set up training sessions as a group. And then actually, this is what I kind of really like. What I used to do was I would set up like assessment days for everybody on the same day, so that when we come in, we had that like football room-esque fucking like energy.
Yeah, it was like AMRAPs and stuff.
It was
like that.
AMRAPs, top sets, like whatever. Everybody would be doing the same thing. And like we'd have like 6-7 guys in there doing fucking AMRAP. Not all at once. We'd have, okay, Tommy's gonna hit his now, and then it'll be Liam, and then it'll be whoever else, right? Like it was
Sounds hype.
it was hype, man.
But it's like we weren't like directly competing with each other.
No, then that's
We had some friendly
Exactly.
jesting and competitions.
Of course.
'cause, you know, it's like me and you like going like back to back on our dead list for like a long
Yep.
time and like seeing who could stay ahead of each other and stuff.
oh yeah. And
Right?
that competitiveness I think is good to have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's obviously to a point where
Yeah, you gotta channel it.
exactly
Yeah.
it can't like overtake you and that's all you care about.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what was happening with those two guys.
Yes. Yeah.
And
exactly.
we were like a couple weeks out from competition. I was like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in this sport specifically, competitiveness to your peers isn't going to do you much. But I think social facilitation is a huge factor.
Yeah.
At
yeah.
one point back home, I had 6 athletes training in the same gym at the same time. And we had 2 racks. I think, yeah, we had 3 racks and one deadlift platform. And I was coaching all of them. So I grouped them up in pairs. So you 2 squat together, you 2 bench together, you 2 deadlift together, and spin around like that.
Yeah, that's
and that was
sweet,
huge.
man. Yeah.
Just having that camaraderie. But the main thing
Mhm.
was like the social facilitation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
being
Yeah.
around people that are observing you, and what's the word I'm looking for? There's passing judgment is what they're
yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
a different word. That's gonna
Accountability?
affect your, not so much accountability, because I don't know if they actually gave a fuck if they showed up for their bro that day, but just being there and this guy's watching you lift, how well you're gonna perform.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Performing under pressure ish. I don't think so.
just
It's like how you feel like a little bit of like get up and go when you know notice people are like watching you while you lift.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's good. I got you.
yeah.
So.
And a big part of that was also like programming specifically the weight, not giving them RPE.
Yeah.
Oh
Because
yeah.
if you have all those people and it was all guys, you're probably gonna overshoot.
100%.
So just give them the weight right on the nose. Found was a big thing.
Yeah. Fair.
And that's what I found with the AMRAPs when we had that like high energy group. I feel like we'd be able to get a little bit more out of people, whether it was the AMRAPs, top sets, whatever.
Goes a long ways.
Oh fuck yeah!
Man, I was gonna say, I was like, I haven't fired anyone, and I pulled up like I have a folder of like inactive clients,
Lost clients.
and I like like the like I just kind of tucked it away
Yeah.
out of the active
I got
folder,
the same thing.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was like scrolling through. I was like, oh, never mind. Not that I've like quite like outright fired people, but I've what's the word? I've given people a push in the right direction, if you will.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing this a while. You missed the last 2 weeks of training. You haven't like checked in a few weeks. I'm just like, honestly, the way I usually phrase it is like, hey, listen, like, you know, I don't in a way I'll phrase it like I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to like waste your money at the same time. You know what I mean? So if this isn't something like you're super interested in, then I'm more than happy to like to part ways and stuff. I think sometimes people feel pressure because like I don't know, maybe they're thinking about, oh well, I'm part of like Thomas's income or something. I don't want to just disappear on him and whatever. And most of the time though, it's worth the trade if that those kinds of conversations are going through their
Oh,
head.
yeah.
It's like a relationship that should have ended maybe a little bit ago, but you kind of like wading your way through it, trying to see if you can find something that works. And oftentimes, before I get to that point, I'm usually trying to set up like a video call with people. Maybe our views aren't aligning on something. Maybe something's like not quite jiving with them. Maybe I said something that didn't quite roll over the right way because we don't get that instant feedback as you would in person with like a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I've definitely done it, but I've read an email in like a certain tone before. And like, you know what I mean? Like
When in reality, it's just words, and you're
Yeah.
creating
you're
the tone
creating the
yourself.
whole narrative,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it could be totally reflective upon like your current environment and how your training day was and all these
Mhm.
kinds of factors. So
Yeah.
it's like it's tricky to navigate when you're like coaching like online and asynchronously.
Yeah.
But yeah, like most of the time I've never like outright fired anyone, but yeah, usually it's like I can see the end in sight, and maybe if their communication's getting a little spotty, it's kind of like I'll just give them that gentle push in the right direction.
Yeah.
And almost always they've taken me up on it. Like I've actually never been wrong about it. I've never like misread the situation because like I don't know, like when they start getting spotty with like the check-ins and stuff, it's usually like they're not feeling it anymore, or something like that. So
Lost the flair of
Yeah.
training.
yeah, and I think sometimes too that like they don't want to admit it, and then maybe they want to try something else for a little while, like martial arts or something, and they don't want to just do like powerlifting anymore or just powerlifting, and maybe they think my view is like all one or the other, even though I've never said that outright because it definitely is not. I think a variety of activities
People make assumptions,
healthy
man.
for you, right, and whatnot, but maybe my passion for powerlifting creates a narrative in their heads that
For sure.
this is all it's about. It's just powerlifting. That's it. We're hardcore with Bridge City Barbell.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's what I'm like over here.
All right.
I'm kidding.
Hard ass.
I'm kidding.
But yeah. Anything else there, Tim, on your
In terms of like, in terms of what?
challenging?
What are you
experiences?
asking me?
Challenging experiences.
Challenging experiences. I've had lots in my lifetime, bro. Had them all.
Start us off. Childhood.
Coaching.
Let's go.
Starting from day one, the day I was born. Yeah, there's definitely some that I haven't figured out quite yet. Like when an athlete's not showing up, how do you get them to show up, but they're still a great athlete?
Yeah.
That's one that's like, I haven't come up with the concept of how to fix that yet.
By showing up, do you mean like
They're hitting probably 3 days a week. They're missing a day in there, and you find out from other people. Kind of thing.
yeah. Oh,
know?
and they're not like telling you about it.
They're not telling
either.
you about it, and yet they're still making progress.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting.
Don't fix what ain't broke.
Exactly.
Ride it out.
But then at the same time, you don't want to set that precedent of just like
It's
poor
okay. It's
communication.
okay to miss.
It's
that
okay to
extra
miss,
day, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's also okay to just straight up lie to your coach about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not great.
Yeah.
But it's like, if someone misses a day, like I never like actively shame someone about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But, if someone comes up to me and they're like, why is my performance like not increasing? And, I go look at the spreadsheet.
Well,
I'm
just
like,
take a
man,
look."
you've hit like 60% of your lifts in the last 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's going to have an impact on your overall.
Definitely.
You might still be making progress, but like the incline of said progress or the trend line might be just a little bit, flatter,
Yeah.
not
Oh, for
quite
sure.
as, obtuse, if that's the word, sharp.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky one to navigate. You haven't quite figured out any good tips or tricks yet, hey?
I've hired this guy to go and beat my clients.
Nice. Break their thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make deadlifting really,
Well,
really easy too. You
Yeah.
just
No more.
cast it.
No more hook grip.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that too is over time, I assume your athletes almost self filter out, because it's like the classic, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink type of thing. You know, you can do anything and everything for someone.
I was wondering when someone's going to use that analogy.
But you can't, like, at the end of the day, you can only haggle someone so much. And if they
Yeah.
don't want to do it, you're sure as fuck not going to be able to make them do it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Mhm.
Nope. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes like I've when I notice an athlete is like routinely missing something on my spreadsheet or whatever, or like a certain day is always missing, and that happens a few times, I'll be like, hey, like, what do you like think of these exercises? Like what I've noticed, like, it's been a little blank lately. I was like, did you want to change them up or something? They'd be like, man, honestly, I can't motivate myself to do one set. I need to do a bit more. And when I see just one set on there, I'll put like one set of abs, for example, or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, I'm like, what if I give you like a range, like 1 to 4, and you, based on the day and how you're feeling, and how much time you have specifically, because this individual, has a job and a life and all that. I give you that range, and you can just do what you have time for, what you're feeling, and then all of a sudden, those cells were getting filled up in the spreadsheet, and even like small conversations like that of just like asking why. I think that's the biggest like lesson I've learned as a coach is like staying curious, right? If you're like really curious about the people you're working with, and people have like always just generally fascinated me, like the wide range of personalities like I currently have on my roster, it's just like bananas. If you would have told me this is what my life would look like at this point in time, and you could show it to me, like I wouldn't believe you. I would say that's an alternate reality and it's not mine,
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like, if you stay curious about people and you just, you want what's best for them and they want what they're looking to get out of this whole coach athlete relationship. As long as you like try and like honor that, I feel like you can't really go wrong, especially if you're willing to admit when you fuck up. Cause like not every decision you make or thing you say is going to be the right thing.
Yep.
And like, I don't know, it's just part of being human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't always say or be perfect, right? Or Captain America or whatever, right?
Yeah, you got to check your ego at the door once in a while.
Speaking of that, how often do you guys like get a screenshot back from your client and they'll be like, is this right? And you'll be like, no, that's a typo. And you have to change it.
Had that
Oh
a
yeah,
couple
man.
times.
Typos happen. Absolutely.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, typos absolutely do happen. Yeah. I've even had like it was like, I don't know, for some reason the formula I had in there went like, I must have added something to it when I was clicked on a different cell or something, and it like added like an additional 10%.
Tommy was like mid possession, just on the
Just
fucking
firing.
spreadsheets.
Yeah,
The
so
one that always gets me is progressing people with small benches,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, this week we'll start here, and then we can linear progress to this point and realize, oh, wait, that's like a 20% increase because this guy only benches 90 kg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's we've talked about that a few times on the podcast, but like, yeah, bench press is a finicky one. In particular, the one I've always struggled with is usually like women's bench press, because those like that minimum increase of 2.5 kilograms is like a substantial increase for someone that's benching like around 50 kilograms, for example.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's not nothing when you like throw that
Yeah,
on there.
for
And
sure.
like, so I even on my spreadsheet now, I actually changed I have like a thing where you can just type in your preferred rounding increment. And instead of rounding everything to the nearest 2.5, I actually round to the nearest 0.1 if the gym has like chip plates where you can do like, half pound,
Yeah.
quarter pound, stuff like that. And honestly, if you're struggling with bench or even stuff like overhead press for a lot of people, if you can get like buy yourself just a small set of like Amazon chip plates and stuff, it's actually like a really useful tool to kind of chip your way up instead of jumping 4% when the last rep set or like, warm up set you did was pretty close to maximal, right? Because like, you can just keep doing that until it gets easier. But I think eventually if you just sit in the same weight for long enough, eventually it's not enough of a stimulus, but you still can't quite make that jump to the next weight.
Yeah.
You can always do the ladder progression, I guess, too. But at the same time, I usually do that with like accessories where the cable machine only jumps up a certain increment.
Yeah.
Or the dumbbells jump up a certain increment. Like if you can only dumbbell curl 10 pounds and you jump to 15, That's a pretty big increase
Yeah.
in weight.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Not a lot of gyms have 12 and a half, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you can, start with your range of whatever, 6 to 12 reps. And then you hit 6 reps at a certain weight. And if you can get all the sets successfully, you move up in reps until you get all the way to 12. And then you move up in weight and you go back
And
down
you
to
start
6
at the bottom.
reps.
Yeah, that's what I do for like the really low, the low bench press.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like triple progression or double progression. I think is what it's called.
Is that what it's called? I thought it was called ladder progression.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've read it. I've
was
read
in
about it
the-
as triple progression. Where
Oh, yeah.
you have the set range, the rep range, and then the last thing you increase is the weight,
Yes.
and then you start over.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 That's a
I've
good
gotten
way-
a lot of good. I've gotten a lot of good results.
That's a good
using
way to like
that.
push it up too.
Yeah.
When
yeah,
I was like
exactly.
an intermediate, what I used to do is I would go into the gym. So this would be like day 1 of a 4-week block.
Yeah.
I'd find a weight that was RPE 8. I would stay at that weight for 4 weeks before I changed anything, which is kind of a weird way of doing it because it's like if you scale it in that 4-week period, you're like progression, or what's the word I'm looking for? Progressive overload.
Yeah.
It looks like it's in reverse, and then you take just a giant jump after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like by the end of that week, like the 4 weeks, that RPE is probably going to come down.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
you would hope it drops.
Yeah, not always. I've had
Yeah.
I've had that happen where I've been stuck at something
Yeah.
for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's plateaued. It's
Bro,
over.
bro. Maybe you're just what is it called? Like a late bloomer.
Yeah.
It's one of the ways the ERM progresses.
Oh yes.
There's like the real fun one where it's like straight linear and
Yeah.
everyone's seeing gains all the time.
Yep.
And then some people have like a false peak
Yes.
where they make gains drop, and then you're like, oh, that's it. But then, oh, JK, you're making gains
JK, it's
again.
back up. Yeah.
And then the other people, fucking,
Just stays.
it's stagnant forever, and then at the very end, you
Blows
see
up.
a
That's
lot
me.
of progress. That's you?
That's my bench. 8 months.
You fucked. Right now, you're just nonstop.
It was my bench. I had the same meat PR for all 3 meets, and then all of a sudden it just
we were too busy
took
focusing
off.
on other things.
Yeah, that's true.
I see. I still love that analogy that like strength gains is more like tending to a garden than it is like formulas or like being a mechanic with like a car engine or something. Because like you just have to put the right conditions in place for long enough, and then eventually like you will see results. Like science like tells us this. All my own anecdotal evidence that just shows us this. I thought I was making no progress throughout all of physio school, and then all of a sudden, I was starting to see like increases. Actually, I lied earlier. I did hit a PR on bench press, but that came out of nowhere. It was like you just stick with it long enough, like we're talking about earlier, and you put those conditions in place. You get the plant needs water, sunlight, the right pH in the soil, and then all of a sudden it starts blooming, right? And you get growth, and that's exactly how strength training
Yeah.
works.
You want to know what the problem is, though?
What?
These types of clients don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They don't want to hear eventually. They don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
hear the unsexy answer of, oh, it's like tending a garden.
Yeah.
No, they
Yeah.
want the linear gains
Yeah.
and PRs for Instagram.
That's the thing, man. It's just like hard work that's just consistent. You know what I mean? It's just like that. It's not sexy. It's not super entertaining. It's not what the Instagram influencers are posting. Like
Yeah.
it's a tricky thing to navigate when someone does want, to see that increase immediately, right?
Oh, yeah.
But there's also like other things you can show people or try and have people focus on, like we call it like your bottom end strength. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, what are you taking for warm ups these days? Because that'll usually increase in proportion to your top end strength,
Yeah.
even if that top weight that you're lifting or like the E1 or M isn't changing like a ton, right? So even if the E1 or M stays about the same, maybe like your last warm up is like 10 kilos more than it was prior, right? Because it just feels easy enough, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always nice when the E1 or M does start ticking up for you
Yeah.
and everything. But I think E1 or M works a lot better though over a large time scale.
Of course.
And then you can kind of like really see it. And like, it's kind of interesting. Like I just, two clients of mine, Jake and Steph, they both just finished up their spreadsheets. Got to 52 weeks on the current spreadsheet. And so when I was doing my check-in, I did like a little retrospective with them. And like you put a trend line through those, and like their totals like all increased.
Of course.
But like all of their week to week training weeks is like highly variable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
for sure.
wavy,
Up and
very
down.
rocky.
Yeah.
So if your scope is only 3-4 weeks, and it's just your perspective is so narrow, and you never ever zoom out further than that,
Mhm.
it's very hard to tell if you actually made like a difference at all, right?
Yeah.
And I was explaining this to an athlete this week. I was talking to Danny about this, but like with coaching, you take a guess based on scientific principles and your previous experiences, and your educated guess gradually becomes more refined the more you work with an athlete. And somewhere within them talking to you, you talking to them, and you delivering the program, evaluating progress, maybe getting a meet in there at some point, you kind of start to figure out what works well, what doesn't. Maybe they got some pre-existing injury that happened in high school, and now when they do a certain thing too much, they're just kind of sensitive to it. I guess like the old timers call it their bum knee. I think that's they
Arrow
sum
to
it
the
up
knee.
they sum it up that way. But
Yeah.
I think it can apply to like any joint in the body or muscle group.
That's
But
true.
it's tricky sometimes trying to communicate those things.
At the start, it's very much a collaborative guess
Yes.
between you and the athlete,
Yeah.
and then you just take that data over time, refine it, and then you can finally fine tune things. But to get to that point, I think it takes a little bit of maturity from the athlete and an ego check from the coach.
Yeah.
Because like it's tough when you're trying things and you're just spinning your tires and you're like, fuck. Like what is it? We've talked about it before. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
When you're like, fuck, do I even know what I'm
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
And your athlete's just like struggling.
Yeah.
But then like all of a sudden, they'll eventually make gains, and that's tough.
I know. I find myself zooming in too much on their
Mm.
graph on the
100%.
spreadsheet. I'm like,
yeah.
well, I got to back out here because I was like, we've made a lot of progress here. Just because like it's stagnant or going like up and down a little bit right now, it doesn't mean like this is where it's gonna be, because it's more like the law of averages you kind of want to look at, right? And like average over time, it's like and then I feel like the more experience you get, and as you gain like in training age, it becomes like it always is a moving target.
Yep.
What is working well, what doesn't work anymore. These things all shift and like wax and wane and whatnot and change over time, I think, as well. Because what used to work in the past does not work for the same athlete necessarily 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes like you have something that worked and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore, and it's like, oh man, is it me? Like, is it the coach?
Yeah,
right?
dude, I've thought about that too.
Yeah,
But
and I
it's
think
like-
that's a principle that is more problem in modern coaches, especially in powerlifting,
Yeah.
because a lot of the science we have is based off of full-time lifters in the Soviet era that were like, this guy's only job is to lift weights. He gets paid. This is all he does.
Yeah.
So the outside variables of his life, his work stress, all these other things are minuscule.
Yeah.
That's all accounted for.
Yep.
And some of those coaches used to rage about that too. Like
Mhm.
in School of Champions, Ivan Abajev is like scolding his athletes. He's like, how come I give you these programs on Monday and you come in and you underperform? And it's like, well, because they have one day off and it's Sunday, and they go out and they get silly, and now their fatigue is a lot higher because they didn't recover.
Yeah, they
She's
went and
like,
got drunk on the weekend. Yeah.
Your job is to be recovered. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
for us, it's like, your job is to go live your life, be happy. This is in the corner, you know? So,
Powerlifting is a hobby. Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
But all of our science and our methodologies are based off of like things when it wasn't a hobby.
Mhm.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
there was a
Mhm.
lot of research that came out of like the Soviet era of like weightlifting and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like peaking strategies and all those types of things kind of came out of
That's
that.
what all of our stuff is still based off of, really.
Yeah, and it's at the foundation of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, indeed. I've kind of talked about some of my own stories along the way, like challenging ones and whatnot. But I mean, there's one in particular where I was working with this girl and, things were going pretty good. We've been like doing this for like 2 years, I think, or something close to that. And we competed a few times, hadn't powerlifted until we started working together. And then kind of like what I was talking about before, things started getting like pretty patchy in terms of like workouts completed, exercises actually sticking to like what's on the sheet,
Yeah.
or missing days. And like sometimes people go through like a rocky month or two and like life gets hard, or maybe they're going through like school or something, and like I'm usually like I'm always more than willing to accommodate people when like life is happening, you know what I mean? And over time, I just felt like, I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't just nailing whatever it was that was kind of going on. We even got to the point where I finally was just like, hey, what if I just, because we had missed like 2 weeks in a row, and she hadn't really told me anything about like, like we're like I'm actually gonna stop or whatever. I was like, all right. I was like, what if I just give you 2 completely open days? What, because she wasn't doing what I was like, putting down or whatever, and you just go in there and you do whatever you want. Like you just get in there, whatever you're feeling, just do it. Report back to me what you did, and then like in my head, I was like, I will build around that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because I truly believe like fun is an underrated principle of programming, right?
They got to enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah, at
Mhm.
least most of the time.
100%. Yeah.
I mean,
Wrong. I'm just kidding.
you need to hate yourself while you're
No
in the
fun
gym.
allowed.
I also like, you're not wrong. There's a time and place to like have fun, but
Yep.
then there's also a time and place to be like, okay, this is what we got to fucking do. Buckle down and just put your, what is it, nose to the grindstone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not
Exactly.
for fun. We have the 1987 Olympics coming up. You need to perform for your country or go back to the factories.
Exactly.
That was excellent.
That's a good impression.
He's not wrong though. I it's good.
No, but fun
Sometimes-
is a huge thing because if your athlete isn't happy, they're not going to make gains.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah. Even if like someone suggests something that I might even deem like suboptimal, but they're like, yeah, man, I love having these in the program or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we'll do bicep curls during your peaking block. like sure. Like,
Yeah.
Like, name a time
Yeah.
you were depressed and making a bunch of gains. It doesn't really exist. I know
Facts.
for me, it doesn't exist.
facts. Yeah. Honestly, it's hard to be, upset about making, good progress.
Yep.
Or even like when things aren't going super well, but you're still like having fun in the gym. Again,
Mhm.
that's going to keep you coming back. That's going to keep all those variables in place. The garden is going to be, I don't know what's the word for like profitable, or I don't know, good soil. It's
Bountiful.
It'll keep that soil bountiful.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Tim.
it. That's it.
Exactly. So then, when the time comes and, mercury goes into Gatorade, boom,
Gatorade.
explosion in strength. Yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, there definitely can come a time and a place though where you're like, you got to buckle up here. I know you don't. Maybe you're sick of lifting heavy, but you got to meet in 2 weeks, and that's the entire sport. And that whole specificity principle, that's a tough one just to throw out the window.
Yeah,
And there's times in the training cycle for sure where you move further away from it,
100%.
and then you work your way back, usually closer to a meet and whatnot. But especially if you're like feeling burnt out and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's tricky though. And yeah, anyway, long story short there.
Sorry, I kind of cut it into it, but
Yeah, she wound up eventually just admitting that she kind of wants to take a break or whatever. I think it was like actually like after that week, because she did not in fact make it to the gym for like either of those days, and kind of stopped lifting for like a while, as far as I know.
pretty sure they have not
Yeah.
got back in,
So
and that was like in 2020.
yeah, I guess it was right around that time.
Actually, no, sorry, it would have been 21.
Yeah, or something like
Because
that.
I remember they did provincials. They were with
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Remember that? I
Yeah,
remember that.
I do. Yeah. But yeah, so it was like I don't know. I on like when I lose an athlete, I have a very hard time sometimes like not taking it personally. Even though there's sometimes I don't know. It's the same way like you lose friends throughout life. Like sometimes you just
drift apart.
Mm.
you drift
Mhm.
apart, you go on
Yeah.
different paths, and you're not, riding in parallel anymore together, right?
Yeah.
And you might wind up coming back together sometime down the line. And I always try and leave that door open. You know what I mean? And like never shame someone for leaving. I never ever tell people that I'm the best coach there is.
That's right.
People make plenty of good gains with almost, any other coach out there. I would hope, I mean, the principles are like all the same. You know what I mean? Like it's, if you stick around long enough, it's pretty hard not to make gains, right? Unless they're doing some pretty egregious shit. And don't get me wrong, there's some bad coaches out there for sure. But there's a lot of good ones too.
Guilty.
Tim sucks. I'm just kidding.
Terrible coach.
Get out.
But like, if you wind up drifting apart, like I try to tell myself, like, hey man, it's not necessarily a reflection on you, but I do analyze it for like maybe some things I could have done better. And sometimes like I've come to the deduction that like it's just a mismatch in personalities that happens sometimes.
Tommy never makes mistakes. He's perfect. They leave for no other
Flawless.
reason.
no
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
But sometimes your personalities just don't match up. Like you just weren't a great fit, and they'll be better off somewhere. Sometimes maybe it's like your programming style they just don't jive with, and it's like, yeah, fair enough. That Danny took a deep breath in there. That was weird. But yeah, sometimes like things just don't align. You know what I mean? And
Well, and you can't force relationships either. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like
Gotta let it breathe.
easy,
sometimes.
Danny, easy.
like I don't know, because I feel like you and I get along super well, so
course.
it's just easy.
Danny's in an arranged marriage. No.
Jeez. But like that, like if I was the opposite of you, it'd be pretty hard to make that, pretty hard to make that work. Past a certain point.
No, like
potentially.
definitely, like when our personalities match up, it's definitely more. I don't want to say more enjoyable, but it's easier.
Yeah, I agree.
to get things across. It's easier. But with that said, I definitely have like athletes that are not like me at all.
Yeah.
And it's not that we can't work together.
Yeah.
We definitely still have a solid like athlete to coach relationship. But I just got to watch and figure out how to get things across. Not
kind of meet them where they are.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like if the athlete's willing to commit to it, and the coach is present and doesn't have like 200 athletes and spends like a minute on each one each week. Like if you're willing to enter into that relationship like fairly openly, and you're willing to like commit to it, then you can definitely like navigate to a place where you can find yourselves more compatible, right?
Oh yeah.
If you're willing to like learn from each other, right? Because
it's a two-way street for sure.
yeah, and like that's what I rely on a lot when it comes to my own coaching is that collaboration portion. And
For sure.
when I don't get that from an athlete, like I genuinely struggle, and like I can just make cookie cutter programs and throw it out into the ethos and be like, let me know if there's a problem, and I don't just disappear. But it's not my style, and I don't know. There's different ways to go about it too, in terms of like communication style and whatnot. Like when athletes check in, some of them send me a vlog, some of them send me an email, some of them flip back and forth based on how they're feeling, and all those work for me. I always say like whatever's easiest for you, kind of thing.
Whatever will get you to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I never tell people it has to be like a 15-minute documentary of their training week or whatever. It's just like even something quick, right? Like if if it's going really well, like I want to know that. If it's not going really well, I also want to know that.
Yeah.
But I also, for both those scenarios, I want to know why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then that's how you refine like that athlete relationship and the programming. Because if you're receptive to both types of feedback, then the athlete's more likely to continue sharing with you, right? And then you can further refine the program as you keep developing this trust, because you have more and more data points to use that aren't just objective, right? You have that subjective, portion that is super, super important. But yeah.
Kind of sounds like weekly check-ins are important. Hey, Kels?
Imagine.
Hey?
Take a long shot guess at how long it's been since I filled in.
Since she did a check-in. Yes.
Let me see. I'm gonna go 10 weeks.
Tim,
Longer?
what's your guess?
She's never done it.
15.
Tell us.
I don't want to say. It's
No,
been
just say it.
August 2023.
Holy shit.
Okay,
The problem is because we see each other almost every day.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
I can let it slide.
Yeah.
And this is my maybe excuse, but I feel like,
I think we started. Yeah, we did it like once when we started.
yeah. But I feel like, okay, so I feel fairly independent in my own shit. And if something major comes up that I feel you really need to know about, I will tell you.
For sure.
But yes, I will be better.
Get your hand off
Sorry.
the mic.
Stop grabbing the mic.
Sorry. I'm going to sit on my hands.
I don't do weekly check-ins though, eh?
No?
No, I just try and keep a running dialogue. And then if like I haven't heard from a client in a week, I'll be like, "What's up?"
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. Because like
That's a good way to do it, too.
with my strength book, I can automate a weekly check-in so that they'll get a notification every Saturday. They'll fill it out. And if they fill it out, okay, sweet. I got some data. But for most, and I've really cracked down on this lately, for the people that I see at the gym all the time, like I said, I can let it slide if you miss them because I'm talking to you all day, every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine.
But you still want video.
And that's what also I've been cracking down on. Kelsey.
Okay.
Like
But
seeing
also
you
the
lift,
thing is,
seeing you hit the set that's like I want a video of doesn't count because I'm not going to remember what it looked
Yeah.
like when I go to
Yeah.
program. I need the
100%.
reference.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Chris because that guy uploads videos to the app every single week. Top sets, like first back down set.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so much easier when
That's
I go
perfect.
in to do the next
Imagine.
See how easy
hey?
it is when you
Yeah.
have data? Huge shout out to our boy Taylor Becker. If we're doing that. That guy. Oh, okay, hold on. I want to show you this because I took a picture of it.
Of what? The number of completed check-ins?
No. So on the app, right, you can track your readiness, session RPE, body weight, steps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's been tracking his body weight from just give me a sec here. I'll pull that shit up.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Pull up.
Pull it up, Jamie.
He's been tracking since what the fuck does that say? January.
Holy shit.
For his body weight?
Daily.
Or all the...
Yeah, Taylor's a fucking dog. That's why.
And we can see, you see how that lovely trend?
Wow.
For those of you who can't see, I'm showing everybody the trend. And
Oh.
It's a downward trend.
he blew up after March, which makes sense because that was Westerns, and then slowly whittled his way back down to where he's hovering around like 92.5,
Nice.
which I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
For the
Damn.
majority of this training cycle, he's been around like 90, 94 kilos, which is like, that's perfect because then that's one less variable for me to look at to like kind of predict where training is going.
Yep.
Because if you're training, 9 kilos heavier than your weight class, well, that's obviously going to affect training when you drop to the weight class you have to be in, right? So
Yeah.
it's good to have. And so shout out to him because he is a dog.
Taylor's a good noodle.
So the lesson here is that if the coach communicates his needs, and then it'd be nice if the athlete met those needs.
But again, it's a collaborative effort.
You're not meeting my needs. What's next on that document?
Oh, let's take a look.
After the tough coaching discussions, what's after that?
That was the first topic. We still got like 8 to go. I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm hungry, man.
Damn.
I'm
No,
kidding.
that was pretty much the extent of like what this was all about. Okay, well, thanks again, folks, for listening to the Aches, Pains, and Gains podcast. You can find all your coaching needs at bridgecitybarbell.com. You can also go and reach out at Bridge City Barbell YXC on Instagram. Feel free to reach out to us on the podcast at achespainsandgains.podcast, also on Instagram. You can also on Spotify, I believe, send us a message or leave a rating and or review. I believe also on Apple Music. So feel free to give that a go. Send us some feedback or questions or whatever. Kelsey, where can they find you on Instagram?
My first name, last name, Kelsey.Goodmanson on Instagram.
Nice.
Yep.
Right on. Tim? Where are you?
Tim Zelensky. TimZelensky.
Whoa.
Just like that.
Hell yeah. Right on. Well,
That's all
thanks
right.
so much for coming on the podcast here, guys.